I'm in the Dorn Mill Complex with Jennings McAbee. And today, he knows so much about McCormick and has played such a large role in, to me, the history of McCormick, our region, and even our state. But this used to be an agricultural area. Can you tell me more about it?
Well, sure. I was, small. I was born in the early 40s. Before it was agricultural, it was, a gold mine here. It was discovered in the early 1850s. And then it kind of moved from that to lumber and agriculture at the same time. One of the large lumber mills that was here was right across the railroad tracks over here. And this particular tract of land was owned by McCormick Land and Lumber Company. And they had interest in the gold mines and in the sawmill and planer mill. Eventually, it was sold to the Dorn brothers, M.G. and J.J. Dorn, and they used it with their land holdings to make feed for the mules and the cows and other livestock that they had. This kind of waned in the late 40s, maybe mid 40s during the war, and it concentrated more on lumber than anything else. And in the 50s, the mill here, the gin house, was closed. This place kind of ceased to exist. And it was making the transition from agricultural lumber to light manufacturing. Milligan plant came here, and then Regal later on. We never really got the industrial or manufacturing base that other communities were getting. As a consequence, when the dam was built and the lake was flooded out here, McCormick had 14,000 people. And it dropped to 7,800 before we were able to get some of the land back from the Corps of Engineers. They took, in my opinion, too much land, 20% of the county.
Now, they said, is it one of the, Fort Charlotte?
Fort Charlotte up in Mount Carmel.
Yes, is underwater.
Yes.
And that's in our county.
Yes.
And it was one of the sites for the American Revolutionary War.
The first overt act, not shot, but the first overt act took place at Fort Charlotte.
Right.
And they moved some of the stones that were used for the walls up to higher ground so they could be protected.
Okay.
But it's underwater now.
Oh, okay. I was going to say I'll go see them.
Yeah.
Because like this building, there was a time when it ceased to function, and now people drive past it and don't realize the importance of it or the role that it has played in the past.
Oh, yeah. We almost lost this building. There was a Dr. McBride that was a general practitioner that was located over here next door in the health department.
Okay.
And he looked out his window every day and saw this building and saw the state of repair it was getting in, and talked Jennings McAbee Sr, who at the time owned the building, into donating the building to the Historical Society.
Oh, okay.
We were able to get a $30,000 grant from the state to stabilize the roof and put windows back in and that kind of thing. But
so that's the McCormick Historical Society.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. And therefore we are able to have this building here
And that's
today.
such a blessing because it's a beautiful old structure.
Well, fortunately, I was on the Ways and Means Committee at the House of Representatives. I was able to know where all of the funding was for historical purposes. And
with the state of South Carolina.
That's correct.
Okay.
And so I was able to get the $30,000 grant that actually saved and protected the building. I also did grants for the old community house down here, we almost lost it, and the Hotel Couture to actually get the Arts Council. It's a city and county joint project, but to save those structures, because I had such an interest in the historical.
And that's a blessing. So that is what they're calling the MAC.
That's correct.
The McCormick Arts Council at the Couture.
Right. Of course, Couture was the lady's daughter that owned the facility there.
Okay.
But, we've tried to promote the areas real hard in rural South Carolina to do that. But there are ways to do it. I know I put a package together to bring Food Line here in McCormick.
Successfully.
And Hardy.
Successfully.
And, we didn't have a real national grocery store here. There was 60 jobs available there and 60 jobs in Hardee's.
So how many people worked here? When it's in its heyday, when it's moving and functioning, would you guess?
Most of the work that was here in this building was before my time, but it would surprise you. They had to have somebody to feed the boiler from the shavings, for the shavings, to create the steam.
That meant they kept a fire going for the boiler.
They had to keep a fire going.
Somebody had to cut the wood and put it in.
Right. And it had to have a couple of people, to run the actual mill and to bag the feed and that kind of thing. My dad sent me over here to help a black gentleman by the name of Will Singletary, who was the manager and supervisor here in the mill.
And you were just 10 years old?
10 years old. He was having a hard time getting the flues to clean out on the boilers.
Okay.
And I said, Mr. Singletary, let's get a high-pressure hose and put it up in those flues and see if we can blow it out. And you know what? It worked.
Yep.
And, as a consequence, I remember him going over and telling my dad, I'll take him anytime you want to send him over.
Okay.
But I ran the inside overflow pipe in the gen house. The one outside was so strong, they were afraid, I was small, that I would get pulled up in.
How old were you when you stopped working here?
Late high school, and they closed the actual gen house in the late 50s.
Okay.
And of course, then I graduated from high school in 1962, and I went to Warford College in Spartanburg.
Okay.
But I remember going by with my dad. My grandparents lived in Spartanburg, and we had a shipment of cotton bales that went to a textile mill in Spartanburg, and they had some question about it. So my dad went by the mill up there to answer their questions. And I don't know, I was probably 8th or 9th grade, somewhere along in there. But when I came back, I operated a building supply over here, the original family business, for about 15 years. And then, of course, I went to the legislature and stayed active there.
Weren't you kind of young?
Yeah, I was 29 when I was elected, but I was elected at 25 to county magistrate. You had to run for the judgeships back in those days. And that was a real experience for me. I got to meet a lot of interesting people. And that was before the days of family court, so I had to handle all the domestic issues. But I got to know a lot of people. I probably could write a book about that.
What did you major in school?
Economics and business.
Okay. And definitely you've used that. So did the rest of your family, were they involved with this complex at all?
Of course, my grandfather was an owner.
Oh.
Of the M.G.H.A.J. Dorn lumber operation, which
that's here.
That was part of this. All of this facility, the gen, they not only did lumber, but they did farming, cotton as well. And, he died in 1962. At the same time, I went off to college, and then the land was sold. The family members got together and decided they'd sell it to the paper companies, which I'm not sure was a good idea, but everybody else wanted to do it, and I was just one vote in the crowd. But, it would have been an ideal opportunity for some economic development with those lands. Having a paper company on the lands now is probably all right because they do pay taxes, but it takes it out of circulation. And you wouldn't ever be able to develop land like that unless the paper company was willing to sell it. and that doesn't happen very often.
Did you get married from somebody here, a hometown girl?
No, someone from Greenwood.
Okay. And did you meet in college or did you meet
Afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah. I had already come back home and opened my business here, and it was kind of a spinoff from an older family business, and my dad was a civil engineer from Clemson, and he operated and worked in the family business from the 1940s up through the 70s when he passed away. But at any rate, I had 3 sons in my family, and I've tried to explain to them the history of the area and everything, and they took some interest in it, but not like I did. I had a high school teacher in the 7th grade that piqued my interest in the community, and I had the good fortune of having scrapbook newspaper articles from years ago. A lot of them about the gold mines, a lot of them about the lumber mills, the lumber operations. It was 1938 when they cut the first U.S. Forest Service timber over here next to Bordeaux. And that really started 20 years of very active lumber operations here.
So Bordeaux is New Bordeaux, which was the French Huguenot settlement near here.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. And the Forest Service bought most of that land.
Oh, okay.
Forest Service, during the Depression, bought up acres and acres of land from families that couldn't pay the taxes on it. And, $1, $2 an acre.
Oh.
And, yeah.
But at least it was some money.
It was some money for the families, but it took it off the tax base. And it's hard when you lose 40% of the land area of the county to have enough tax base to support county operations.
That's very true.
And we still have that problem, today.